Hey, what's up, guys? So I wanted to make a YouTube video on the Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I heard the game. I haven't played it personally, but I've been seeing a bunch of reviews and YouTube videos, like multiple of them, saying that this game is just really badly optimized. And I came upon this video, and I thought it had some really good points, and I wanted to share it with you guys and just talk through it. All right, let's get started.
I'm being torn apart. I want to be free of this pain. I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. Will you help me?
Yes, anything.
Thank you.
Did you think that PC versions of games couldn't get worse after Arkham Knight and The Last of Us on PC? Well, boy, do I have news for you. Because unlike how Dead Island 2 launched with a damn near perfect PC port, even though...
Okay, so I just wanted to explain that first part there is just talking about like it's eating all the CPU and for no performance, honestly. Like it's eating the whole thing and you're getting very low FPS. It's just same with the GPU, but they'll talk about it more, but that's what that first part was getting at.
It was stuck in development hell for a literal decade whilst moving between 3 different studios. Star Wars Jedi Survivor has hands down one of the worst PC ports of any game I have ever played. But hey, at least EA can brag about how fast they churned this game out after laying off most of their QA testers. This PC port isn't just on par with Arkham Knight's infamous launch, I'd argue it's possible to claim it's worse. If I were to attempt to list all of the issues with this version of the game, it would take an eternity. There is genuinely not a single aspect of this game on PC that functions as it should. On an RTX 4090, you're looking at a...
On the topic where you talked about this company firing most of their QA testers, I feel like it's come up a lot more often than not, like around these last few years where games are just badly optimized when they're released. Like for example, Cyberpunk, what's another game that the battle, what's that game, it was like 2042, like, okay, well my point is that there's some games coming out already, like a bunch of games that are new coming out that are just broken on release, and it takes them a couple months, like 3-4 months for them to actually fix that issue. If I think about that game, I will mention it later.
Solid 23 frames per second on the opening world.
You know, I was just like having fun, laughing around, but I'm done at this point, dude. 22 frames, bro.
22.
Fuck Respawn, fuck EA. How they could sell this for $80 is insane.
In a best case scenario, you're getting...
The game was Battlefield 2042. Just had to say that, okay.
90 FPS on a motherfucking 4090.
Hey. He had a 4090 and he was getting what? How many?
Fuck EA. How they could sell this for $80 is insane.
In a best case scenario, you're getting 90 FPS on a motherfucking 4090, but most of the time you're looking at barely 60 FPS.
That is crazy. 48 FPS, bro. With the 4090, the best GPU in the market. And it's only utilizing 35% of it and 12% of the CPU right here.
Now what about a realistic high-end PC build? I myself have an RTX 3070 Ryzen 9 5900X 32GB of DDR4 memory and a Samsung 980 Pro as my SSD. So at the bare minimum I should be seeing between 60 and 80 FPS at 1440p at any point in the game. That isn't a matter of opinion, that is a statement of fact. Do you want to know what I'm getting in terms of FPS in the open world area of Jedi Survivor during a boss fight? A baffling 15 FPS at time.
Ooh, that's crispy. Some crispy 14 FPS right there. That's so bad.
That's kind of small.
Yeah.
Yikes.
No, I'm not joking. With FSR set to balance
Oh
and a mix
my
of high
gosh,
and medium
dude.
settings, this pile of shit port was locking me to 15 FPS with some of the worst frame times I have ever seen in my entire life.
Nah, like at this point, if I was getting this much FPS, I would be questioning first my hardware. I'll be doing some Cinebench testing just to make sure it's actually working right. Like for me, it's just not normal, I guess, to be seeing like because like these games are coming out, like the big ones, you know, Cyberpunk when it came out and Battlefield. I didn't play those at launch. I just heard about them, but because I just wasn't interested at first, and I played Cyberpunk later on, but then it was already optimized, like better, I guess, since the launch. But yeah, I'll be questioning my hardware at first, and then the game. But man, the game's coming out costing $80 for 15 FPS. Nah.
Now, in fairness, you won't experience this awful level of performance all the time because this is the most broken port I have ever experienced. It is on par with Saints Row 2 and goddamn GTA 4 on PC. On Coruscant, I was experiencing between 23 to around 55 FPS, with again, insanely high frame times and basically no usage of my GPU. And I was so very hopeful when I left that shit heap to go to the second planet because I landed on that bad boy and I finally saw the game actually utilizing my GPU.
Yeah. Now it's at 97% utilization. You got 60 FPS.
Not properly, might I add,
Right.
but it was finally being used. And then the game said sight, taking my FPS down from 60 to a staggering 23 FPS. To
No.
attempt to list off the issues with this port I've seen, there are huge fucking memory leaks. If you play the game for extended periods of time, you'll gradually see performance decrease. The worst CPU utilization ever seen in gaming. Any GPU being bottlenecked by any CPU for no reason because of the absurd CPU utilization, and far too much lump loading, where developers dump huge amounts of data into VRAM at once rather than gradually feeding it in, which would avoid sharp and significant stutters. And last but certainly not least, tons of frame time stuttering. Again, caused by that CPU utilization, not to mention the random crashes.
You don't want to be like that.
Okay, I've been in this situation a lot, and it sucks. This is like a reason why I stopped playing some games where I just got a bunch of these crashes. So I have two PCs, and when I first got, like, for example, what's it, Cyberpunk, and I tried playing it with my 1080 Ti 8700K like CPU, the game just crashed like so often on there, just because it was like badly optimized, and they still haven't fixed it. They did some fixes, but it wasn't like to a point where they were like, okay, like we're like 90% there, like where it's mostly optimized. But on my 1080 Ti, it just crashed like so frequently. Like I just kind of quit the game. And then when I got another PC that I built later on, I had no crashes there. No like stutters really or anything. But that one's already like jacked. You know, that PC has 4090, 3900 KS and everything. And it took that to actually run the game like good. Yeah, this is very annoying. For $80, you're getting these crashes. Like, no, I would refund the game that first day.
This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't. But I've considered it.
When I say there isn't a single aspect of this port which isn't broken, I mean it. FSR2, for example, barely affects performance, merely adding on at most an extra 2 FPS in my experience.
It just makes it hard. It makes it hard to look at. Like, he's looking around and it's just stuttering. Like, it's like a presentation, you know. It's like slideshow. It's slideshow. Watch.
Barely affects performance,
You know,
merely
when
added.
he's moving around, it's just so choppy. Like, it hurts to like look at the game.
On at most an extra 2 FPS in my experience. Changing your settings from epic to low won't affect shit because of the comically bad CPU utilization. That means in most cases, the game is unable to actually use most of your GPU's capabilities, and even the goddamn menus are barely functional unless you plug a controller in. Something I think we can all agree on is absurd considering the fact this is the PC version of the game. Despite the cursor on the screen and me being able to click each toggle, I cannot click on the any arrows in order to edit said toggle. There's also no image or even a bloody description to showcase the changes to the visuals of Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, this is really bad. Needing a controller to change the settings. Did they even do QA testing? Like, I know they said most of their QA testing. Did they mean like all instead of most? Did they get those words like mixed up? Like,
Per setting, something that wouldn't bother me too much even though there is clearly room for such basic things if there were a VRAM counter. This is a game that requires 8GB of VRAM at minimum, and has been proven to use up to nearly 20GB of VRAM if it is able to, despite clearly not
okay, well I feel like the VRAM, when he was pointing this out, I feel like games nowadays, they use, if you let it use, like, for example, 90% of the VRAM, it will use the 90% of the VRAM because you let it to. It's not because the game needs it. So I feel like if there's not a limiter for that, that's why it's using so much. But that can be like just like a whole different issue though, with it, you know, being unoptimized and everything.
If it is able to, despite clearly not needing it.
Okay, wait. Just, I think he just, said
VRAM if it is able to, despite.
Okay, yeah, you just kind of said it right there. If it's able to, then it'll use that much, but it doesn't need it.
Clearly not needing it, and yet it has no built-in metric to allow you to measure whether or not your system is capable of running whatever settings you're attempting to run, meaning you possibly have to spend hours like I did trying to find a setting that doesn't run like ass. Unfortunately, that's just not possible anyway, thanks to again the CPU utilization.
That's weird, the shadow that's appearing. Watch.
That's just not possible.
Like when he's moving side to side, it's not really a shadow. It's kind of like a cloud, like a dark cloud just following like his hands. Watch.
Possible anyway.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just kind of like, see, it's like a shadow, but really with really bad ghosting. Like, I don't know, it just looks very weird.
And as Alex from Digital Foundry stated, everyone is getting stutters in Jedi Survivor. No one can claim the game is smooth. If someone is claiming the game is smooth, ask them to post an entire playthrough of Coruscant or the town of Kobar with a frame time graph active. It will show stutters even in 3D cache risings. Every time a game releases with awful frame time issues, there are always those that want to make it into, oh, your hardware is the problem thing. It's fine on my PC, when that is literally impossible. People saying such things just do not notice or ignore the stutters. There is flat out no way to get this PC port to run in a stable manner because of the nature of the
Okay, now that I'm thinking, you know, these tweets are coming out, these videos, these reviews. It was a time where, I think in Battlefield 2042, where the company actually gave refunds out for people who bought the game. Like, I think it was only on PC. I don't know if it was on console. It was like more optimized on there when it released. But I think for PC, they were giving out like refunds. I feel like this game, I feel like it might get to a point where they're going to start refunding. I mean, like, you know what? We're going to pull the game from PC, fix the bugs, and then release it in like 3 months. If they don't come up with a solution quick enough.
Or more specifically, complete lack of optimization. The reason I believe this game runs the way it does regardless of settings and regardless of hardware is because I suspect the game is not coming close to utilizing CPU multi-cores effectively and or properly. This means that it essentially relies on the single thread.
Okay, so this is low settings and then max settings with ray tracing. I mean, for lowest settings, it's definitely not utilizing it correctly. For max settings, I mean, they're all about the same. I would say like average. I don't know, like 40%. Yeah, but definitely not lowest. Lowest is not utilizing correctly.
threads, hence your hardware not mattering, and hence why even in 3D cache Ryzens, you're seeing a muttering. Is also likely the reason for the shoddy performance in consoles as well. If you are on console and thinking about buying this game, unless you want to be stuck in 2010 frame rates, aka 30 FPS, you're going to have a fairly negative experience with this title, as performance mode is having severe screen tearing issues, frame rates between 40 to 50.
Yeah, okay, so on Xbox it's doing like 10 FPS worse. So it was like, it got up to like 55, right? Well, like, it's about 5 to 10 FPS, I would say.
aka 30 FPS, you're going to have a fairly negative experience with this title, as performance mode is having...
Okay, it's like a 5-8 FPS difference, but it's really bad on console as well.
Severe screen tearing issues, frame rates between 40 to 50 FPS, and almost laughably bad HDR support. But how exactly did EA respond to people rightfully calling out their bullshit in the Steam reviews and on YouTube? Well, they took a page out of the AAA handbook, exactly like Naughty Dog did with the Last of Us PC port. Specifically, the page about the AAA scam cycle. Start charging $70 for your games, knowingly rush the developers into releasing a title in a near unplayable experience, scam tens of thousands of customers, and then make sure to attempt to gaslight the customer into believing it's their fault and ultimately barely fix the game across a plethora of patches in the coming week.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like a lot of companies releasing these games, man, they be following the cycle. And there's some good games like that MMO, Ashes of Creation, where they're actually, you know, they're looking to improve the game with, like, you know, alphas and showing a bunch of video, like, proof and stuff. They're doing it right, I feel. But these companies that, you know, are charging like $70-$80, they follow this cycle. It's true. I feel like a lot of them that are releasing games that are broken, they end up like doing gaslighting the victims, you know, the people that are playing the game, and then in the back end they're like, okay, well, you know, let's fix some patches, and then we'll release them and be like, hey, we made the game so much better, and then the victims, the players, they're like, all right, I get whatever, you know. At this point, it's been a long time. We don't, we're not into the game as much as if when it first released. I feel like they just don't care really that much. It's like, oh, okay, well, they fixed it. I guess I'll try playing it again, and then they kind of just forget about the issue. But yeah, they definitely do follow this.
EA intentionally released what can only be described as a flat-out scam, knowingly, and then made this statement. A note from the Jedi team on the PC version of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. We are aware that Star Wars Jedi Survivor isn't performing to our standards for a percentage of our PC players, in particular those with higher machines or certain specific configurations.
Okay, they said to our standards for a specific percentage of our PC players. It's not just PC, and it's not just your standards. Like, it should be like, bro, it's like everyone's standards. Like, for an $80 game, this whole first sentence right here is just a slap to everybody.
For example, players using,
and then they're attacking people with high-end PCs right here. Like, basically, they're trying to blame like the new hardware that's coming out, like the 4090s, 40 series, and new just GPUs that came out, and CPUs.
Cutting-edge multi-threaded chipsets designed for Windows 11 were encountering problems on Windows 10, or high-end GPUs coupled with lower performing CPUs also saw unexpected frame loss. Rest assured, we are working to address these cases quickly. You are the chosen.
Yeah, man, like this whole tweet they made right here, they just made this to cover their ass. Like, it's like they know they messed up bad, and they're like, you know, it's all this hardware that's coming out. It's their fault, you know, but we'll fix it, you know. We'll tank it. We got you guys. It's basically what they said.
Address these cases quickly. You are the chosen one. It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness. I always love it when AAA publishers charge $70, knowingly scam their customers, and then pretend as if they never knew these issues were going to happen, whilst attempting to gaslight the consumer. The fact alone that EA is pretending as if they weren't aware of these issues before launch, and just happened to stumble upon them after launch, is completely laughable, since this is the only game in existence to have implemented full-blown menu systems in order to tell the player that their game is completely broken. I have never seen this in another game, and I have never heard of this being in another game. But
Yeah, the menu settings, that's very sus. Like, I haven't really seen, like, if a game's broken, it's the gameplay. It's the open world where your FPS is just kind of shattering, not in the menu. Like, usually the menu, well, there's nothing really, driving the CPU and GPU in there. That's just a functionality issue at that point. Like, it's just not great. Like, I don't know why they got to a point where they're like, yeah, this is cool, release it.
what I do expect is to see it more often, since this game has managed to top the Steam charts still, despite the abhorrent release of this version.
Well, it's up there because, well, first of all, people like Star Wars, and second of all, it's a new game. A new Star Wars game that probably hasn't. I don't know when's the last one that's come out. Like, I don't really want to just think about when's the last one that actually came out that Star Wars like. But yeah, people are like, it's like a highly anticipated game. It was like the trailer was good. It seemed promising, so that's why people bought it. So it's not surprising that it's up there, I would say.
There are so many things wrong with that statement, but most importantly, what the fuck do they mean by multi-threaded chipsets designed for Windows 11, encountering problems on Windows 10? Not only is the performance difference between Windows 11 and Windows 10 not even considerable in any scenario, since there's practically no difference between them, and at most you'll have a 1 to 5 FPS difference between the two that could go either way. But there's just also that classic AAA response of a percentage of our PC players or some of our PC players are encountering these issues.
Yeah, like I pointed that out too. Like they are just writing stuff just to write stuff, just something that is sound to people. And like, because there's still a lot of people that haven't played the game. There's a lot that have bought it but haven't played it, and they're just like, they posted that not to the people that have played the game, but to people that haven't purchased the game yet. They're like, oh, it's only some people have these issues. I won't get those issues, It's only some of them. What's the chances that it will affect me? And that's what they're doing. They're trying to still have people purchase their game. Because I feel like it's a mix of things. Not a lot of people will have purchased the 40 series GPUs because the price is kind of crazy. And from that statement, it's basically reading like, if you have the newest hardware, then those are the people that are having the issues. And so yeah, they're still trying to upsell in that post where they were meant to apologize for basically having a bad game release.
In reality, the only people who aren't quote-unquote experiencing these issues are just the ones who haven't noticed them. It doesn't mean they aren't experiencing them. It just means they aren't knowledgeable enough to know they're being scammed. The fact they are blaming consumers for having the quote-unquote wrong configurations is laughable. This title has proven time and time again does not run well no matter what. It is barely possible to get it to run above 60 FPS even on a 4090. GPUs being paired with supposed lower performing CPUs is not the issue. My testing in and of itself proves that, since my CPU is overkill for a 3070. The rest of the statements don't get any better either, since they further attempt to blame the fact there's no single comprehensive solution for PC performance, which is simply not true. Game engines handle a lot of this stuff on the back end, and drivers exist for a fucking reason, as you so brilliantly pointed out when you copied Naughty Dog's gaslighting attempts. If you see any developer and/or
that tweet right there. Please ensure that your drivers are fully up to date. Another gaslighting. It's not our fault. It's your fault. Optimize update your GPU. Fix your configuration. At this point, it's your fault. don't look at us. You know, it's your fault.
He pointed out when you copied Naughty Dog's gaslighting attempts. If you see any developer and or publisher claiming that the lack of comprehensive PC builds is the issue, that almost always only translates to nothing more than, fuck you, we don't care about optimizing our games because we know you'll buy this shit anyway. Is it harder to optimize for PC than consoles? Absolutely yes. But is it as hard as these AAA scammers like Naughty Dog and EA are attempting to claim? The answer is a resounding no. If a game like Dead Island 2 can release with a damn near perfect PC port after a literal decade of development hell after moving between 3 different studios, then there is zero excuse for anyone to be releasing broken garbage like this. All in all, this is not an acceptable port in any capacity, and this is clearly not a company you should be supporting. Despite the fact the game, underneath all the performance issues on consoles and PC, is fantastic. I didn't think I really needed to say that you shouldn't support EA, but for some reason people have managed to convince themselves EA has changed a lot, when they clearly haven't.
I feel like EA has been slacking these past few years. With just like the lack of actually outputting these games without like really like any bugs. Like I know FIFA came out, like I think the last one that came out, there was a bunch of bugs at the beginning of it. Just like with the like mechanics of, you know, like the ball movement and stuff, it was just like weird. And like the celebrations, players were like just like twisting and turning like on the grass and stuff. It's like it didn't make sense. And like some functionality, like I feel like EA is just kind of going downhill.
So with all that being said, we have finally come to the end of this video, and so I will now beg you to do all the things YouTubers love to beg you to do, aka check out the Discord server, the Twitter, as well as like, comment, and subscribe. So that I will see you all in the next video.
This game, I feel like right now, it's definitely not worth to buy. It's definitely one of those games that is gonna need, I feel like, a month or two, probably more, probably like 2 or 3 months, to actually get to a state where it's actually a game that you would want to play. But yeah, I definitely think that this video is titled correctly. It is a scam right now, and EA is gaslighting, and it's a very bad state that this game is in. I don't think that it's bad, like the story and everything. From what I've seen, it looks interesting, but it's just with these issues, it's not really worth it right now for anybody to get, console or PC. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you played the game, have you had these issues? What are your thoughts? How long do you think before these issues get fixed? Yeah, like, subscribe, let me know what you think, and I'll post another update once there is something else that EA has to tweet about. All right, guys, see you later.